it's about a county governor who's called, he says it's politics. You know, that kind of speech does not inspire. Corruption is an inspired fight. So therefore, I think what happens is we all need to be an army. And we said this even last week in one of our committee meetings on the public accounts. And there was almost a general consensus, even with the CORD senators, that we tend to almost validate corruption within CORD counties. That we say it's politicization, it is this guy trying to seek my seat as governor, you rush to court to defend a governor who's refused to be summoned to the Senate because he is a deputy leader somewhere. So I think this corruption needs such honesty, yeah, and sometimes such audacity. You know, when I started drawing a distance from some of my county government, our county government in Mombasa, it was because there were things that were no longer within common decency acceptable. And we started speaking about them. And you so suddenly you attract political heat. And I think therefore we need to be very objective in how we fight it. And we need to exercise sincerity. And we need to punish even the person next to you if he's sitting. And that's why I say time and again, Willie Mutunga did an act of great magnanimity in terms of fighting corruption by saying this is a guy I sit with at the highest apex of the judiciary. They probably share lounges. I know how these people who, and this legal trade, they are so stratified that they have lounge for this, lounge for that, senior counsel here, big, you know. So I think they literally...
It's a brave move.
Yeah, so it was very, and we need that type of audacity across the board. If Uhuru is able to say 8, 9 of my cabinet secretaries, even where there are no founded reasons, must take a walk. Our governors, even on those allegations, sometimes we must also show a distance. I remember one of the Wiper governors came to us for our support. We said, bro, go and respond to these issues at the ESCC. We were not going to give a press statement.
What Willie Mutunga has done in fighting graft at a very high level, isn't that the same as what the president had done, although the president attracted a lot of heat from the opposition for having the CS step aside?
Because he did not attract heat for having the CS step aside. It's because he appeared to favor some elements of that very government, who eventually, under public pressure, were then also bundled out of cabinet. So I think what we wanted to say is that it also must be fair. There must be equality in the application of law or procedure or process. So I think for me, we must be very audacious in this fight. So Willie must be able to sacrifice his very own, and we must also be able to shed blood of our very own, if that's the ultimate price. Okay. But we cannot, because if you go to counties, everybody will tell you, across counties, CORD, non-CORD, for that matter, Jubilee, things are not going very well. And we must also stand, to be counted on these matters.
Okay. Onyangolo, the government has tried in having even judiciary reforms, and there's been vetting. There was some judges who were dismissed. What will get us to the bottom of having one of the major arms of government not with any corruption charges or anything that seemingly, because justice needs not just to be done, but to be seen to be done?
Thank you so much. Mike, let me just address a small issue here first. I think what Willie Mutunga has done is a very bold move. And you see, when the president did a similar thing to the cabinet, and we lauded him. But at some point, we said that Anne Waiguru had no business resigning. And I still reiterate that. For same reason, I'm saying Willie Mutunga has no business resigning, because the buck did not stop with him in this case. There was someone who has been targeted, just as in that case we were saying the PS and those guys were to be responsible. So the government has always shown that commitment. And let me tell you, this kind of thing, if we go with this kind of Supreme Court into the next election, Mike, it is very, very dangerous. Victory is very sweet, but you don't want your victory messed up by someone smarting from defeat by simply claiming, you see, those people, they have again helped these other guys. We are certain we are likely, we are going to win these elections. But if we go with this kind of Supreme Court, our opponents are always very good at smarting out of the ashes of defeat and saying, didn't we tell you this Supreme Court? They have also again ensured that our victory is stolen. It will be stolen, stolen, stolen. So The only way to get out of this thing is to be bold. And you can see here today we are a bit united that corruption must be fought. We must be bold and say the Supreme Court, you may not be it may be difficult to prove that you are probably guilty, or we may prove that you are guilty. Do the honorable thing. Bow out. Let us allow Mutunga to consolidate the Judicial Service Commission so that we reconstitute the Supreme Court. Remember, the president relieved cabinet secretaries of their responsibilities, irrespective of the fact that some of them, EACC had actually found them not to have been culpable. So, Kasungu Kambi, Chirchir, but because you have been smeared, we say you may be innocent, but for public perception, please, just step aside so that we have a good perception of government. I dare say that this gentleman must do the only honorable thing, bow out of the stage and allow new players to get onto the stage.
No, Akala, is that the solution? They should bow out and have a new faces?
My view is a bit different on what the ultimate solution for corruption in the country is. You know, we've had a plethora of high-level resignations, dismissals, from time immemorial over the issue of corruption. But we've never had a successful prosecution that has ended up in a conviction and jail time for those who are found culpable. We've seen billions of shillings go missing in Anglo leasing, you name it. All these scandals that have started since that. But we never see people serve jail time for these crimes. The day that we see someone who has been on the take or who has misappropriated public funds actually serve a 5, 10, 15-year jail term for this crime, that's the day that corruption will really begin to suffer in this country.
Okay. Senator, there was a recent survey that was done which was indicating that even the youth currently do not really care how you get or amass your wealth. So this is not just an issue of leaders. It seems like it's something that has gone into the very fabric of our society. How do we pluck that out?
One thing I disagree with Weda on his political standpoint, and but when I always ask people about him, they view him as very honest. And I think that those are the type of role modelings we have to have in terms of our social construct. We have built a culture today of material greed without conscience. We were just discussing it before he came onto the set. That everybody wants to leave the affluence. I mean, sometimes you just look at yourself and where you've come from. And I look at myself and I say where I've come from and where I am. I mean, you cannot underestimate the work of God in giving you, that abundance to an extent that you have more than enough, at least to run on a day-to-day basis. So he was asking me, what do people want? You want to buy taps that are plated with gold, and to have houses that when so that you say people driving in their palm trees all over, and there you have cooks, and I think that and I think we have gotten our young people to emulate that. Because all the people we have, and I think it's also the way the world is moving, the material culture, is the things that we play out in the media quite a bit. And I saw that survey saying that many do not have any issues in how you make that wealth. And that's why now it goes to the moral foundations of our country, in terms of education, in terms of the spiritual grooming. I think we have such deficits in those areas. And I think schools must now not just be centers of excellence in terms of being a top student so that you can be carried shoulder high to the next big job in government. It should be about inculcating the value systems. And we, as my brother Kala said, Dr. Kala, there must be consequences. The society must, or our systems must aspire to punish ruthlessly. And also we must set out the bar of our politics fairly high. I think we must redefine this ethics and in integrity. What is leadership and integrity chapter? And if you come and see, or you come and vote governors, senators, members of the National Assembly with some of the most, horrendous allegations about theft and other kinds of things, and you expect that person to clean that government, or to clean that parliament, or even to clean that judiciary, is at least is taking the joke too far. Okay. So I think we must raise the bar in terms of our integrity issues and the caliber of leaders, and therefore Kenyans must evaluate their leadership with that level of integrity.
Empress Weda, in terms of how the culture that we're seeing now is probably something we have borrowed from those in leadership. Would look at them as role models. And according to that survey, if it's anything to go by, it looks like corruption is not something that will end with this generation. It seems to be seeping down. How do we have that sorted out as a country? What conversation do we need to have? Or do we need to redefine corruption as a whole? I mean, if you send your child to the shop and tell them, if you come back, I'll give you a sweet, aren't we already planting a seed?
Yeah, I think we have gotten it the opposite. The opposite here is we are looking at what you get. But a fulfilling life is what you donate, what you become. The other day we buried a literary giant called Majori Olunde Magoy. And it is what she has donated. The other day we celebrated the life of Chinua Achebe. It is what he had donated. The world celebrates Mother Teresa on the donations, on what life gives you, the titles you acquire, whether you're a professor, whether you're a multimillionaire. Those are what you receive, and they don't count. If young people knew that it is what you become, what you donate in life that counts, then they will get out of this fear where you think more money gives security. A big car, a big house, a big this, a big that you cannot get. So what do? You steal. Yet the people we celebrate, the world celebrates, made very, very little donations. There's a lady in the Bible who just poured oil on the feet of Jesus. We remember her to date. There are other multimillionaire landowners in the city who grabbed half of the city and they own half of it. They died and we forgot about them. It's only that you lived, made some money and died. It should be, you were born, you gave us something, and you died. And what do we remember? He left us with this. So young people, you should know a fulfilling life is in its donation, not acquisition.
Okay, and I'll come to you, Noah Kala, and I would imagine that you're one of those who would look at as a younger generation. Do you see this happen? Do you see this culture filtering down to the younger people, looking at a survey like that came out?
I agree with everything that my elder brother has said here. The only thing is that I feel as though sometimes the Jubilee administration speaks from both sides of its mouth. And reason being is, just last week, I noted with great concern that the national NCIC, chaired by Bwana Kaparo, had cleared Suleiman Shaba of any wrongdoing, following his comments in Mombasa the other week where he said, in 2017, tutaiba. Maybe that's why my brother here had so much confidence about the forthcoming general election. But he was cleared of any wrongdoing, telling him that it's okay, kuiba. And then also, just a few weeks ago, we were with Wakili here when we put forward to him, where does the deputy president get 50 million shillings every month to donate to Harambe's when his salary is known? It's about 1.6, 1.7 million shillings as deputy president of the republic. Where does he get 50 times his salary every month to donate to Harambe's? And the response by Jubilee is, he is generous.
And he has businesses.
He has businesses. Businesses that we, we don't know what kind of business this is that generates money for you to give to Harambe's. Businesses run. So this culture of lack of accountability, this culture of sanitizing wrongdoing, actually, the finger points back to those who hold the instruments of power.
Onyango Law, in terms of now the government having to do something, because at the end of the day, we could end up blaming everybody for everything, but the government would have to step in very strong. And we do know that there was, all public officers are supposed to declare their wealth. And when there is a questionable amounts of wealth that, you know, one does not understand where it comes from, shouldn't the government come out strong and enforce that? Whether it is the deputy president, whether it is CSs, whoever.
We better relook the laws that govern this issue of declaration of wealth. You do appreciate that all that is required of senior officials of government is to declare that wealth, and I think in sealed envelopes, something like that. And until such a time that someone comes up and say, no, we want that envelope or that declaration opened for us to see so that we are able to compare your lifestyle with what you declared there, the government would not just pry into your private life and say, hey, we think nowadays you are probably